EMI smiled to herself as the window to the apartment opened, the heroine flipping a page in her magazine. Ever since her boyfriend of 4 years had admitted his origins, he had hidden the results of his childhood training less and less around her. She still wrestled with his brotherhood's means, but the more they spoke of why, the more she accepted they really thought they were doing what was best. Welcome home, Sho. She called. You're late, so you must have been busy. How was your day? EMI, we need to talk. The woman froze at the tone in her beau's voice, EMI dropping her magazine and rising from the love seat. Aizawa was closing the window with one hand, his other holding something against his chest. He was dressed in a long robe of black, the man pulling the pointed hood down. As EMI got closer, she noted the white hair on the small being in his arms, sleeping softly. Shota. She asked. What happened? Who is she? This is my new ward, he said, falling into his recliner, his arms steady to keep the girl in his arms from waking up. EMI approached slowly, studying the girl. She was dressed in a dark blue dress, a brown-toed plushie in her arms. Or, I guess, our new ward. Her name is Eri. Eri. The girl shifted, sniffling quietly as she hugged the plushie closer. A single tear fell down her cheek. Shota, explain please. We went on a raid this morning, the assassin sighed, EMI ignoring the part of her brain that pointed out that meant he killed people today. The Shihaseke, they were one of the last few Yakuza gangs, but that alone wouldn't have been enough for us to wipe them out. No, we got word that their boss was a Templar performing experiments on how to destroy quirks. EMI gasped, covering her mouth quickly as Eri shifted again. We had people scoping them out for weeks. Aizawa continued. Faces, names, quirks, habits. We needed everything we could to be as prepared as we could. Then we learned about Eri. We didn't know her name and her quirk is still mostly a mystery, but we knew the Shihaseke was using her in their research. Getting her out was one of our primary goals. We succeeded, but at a cost. How many? Only one, but our numbers are so low that each one we lose is a serious blow. Worse, he was a father, and now I have to teach his eldest as if I wasn't on the mission where we lost him. My student and their family knows. They know our brother gave his life to save this one, but it will take time before we come to terms with what happened. Oh, Shota. EMI stepped forward, hugging the man's head to her chest. But that doesn't explain why she's here in our apartment. Remember how I said her quirk is a mystery? All we really know from what Eri could tell us was that her quirk turns things back to a prior state, but only when she has the energy, indicated from the side of her horn. At least, that's what we could determine. Mentor and the others from the mission decided it was best I take her in. My quirk could counteract any out-of-control quirk usage. That is, our fallen brother's family was given first offer since it was his actions that first got her out, but they need time and she'd be a too painful reminder too soon to give her proper care. The mission's leader would have taken her in but agreed she didn't have a quirk that could ensure Eri's safety. He gave a small chuckle. Besides, haven't you been saying you want to start a family? Well, I thought we'd have a little more time to prepare. EMI laughed. You know, date night, walk in the park, you give me a ring. The works? Not just surprise. So, what now? We're forging a birth certificate and adoption paperwork right now, but Eri already knows too much about the assassins. She'll be raised as one of us, but I don't want her to know nothing but our life of violence. That's where you come in, EMI. You want me to be her mother. I do, but I fear in doing so, it will draw you deeper into the darkness. To maximize the efficiency of Eri's training, I'd need to introduce you to the Brotherhood officially. Only then would you be able to take Eri outside, in disguise. Of course, 2 of the highest members of the Shihaseke got away and I have no doubt that they'll have all their contacts looking for her. Then why bring her here, Shota? The Verdette questioned. Wouldn't she be safer in your what? Base? Hideout? Safer, maybe, but she's just a little girl. Aizawa's eyes fell. She's known nothing but cages and pain for as long as she's been alive. Even for her safety, we couldn't lock her away in another cage. We don't want members who are assassins because it's all they know. We want them to join because they believe in our ideas and have the chance to live their life as they want, despite the risks that come with it. That's why we train them before giving them the choice to walk away. She deserves at least some childhood, but by bringing light to her darkness, I fear that I'll be pulling you into it. I'd understand if. Are you kidding? EMI demanded. I might not be willing to kill like you and your brotherhood, but I'll absolutely become involved for her sake. What kind of hero would I be if I wasn't willing? But nothing. Shota. I'm taking the day off tomorrow, so you can trust Aries' care to me. Got it. Who? The little voice pulled the adult's attention down. Aries' red eyes open and wide. Seeing the pair look at her, Aries shrunk in on herself, raising the toad plushie up to hide part of her face like a shield. Hi, sweetie, EMI said, getting on her knees to be level with the girl. She waited until Aries lowered the plush, her wide eyes curious. My name is EMI Fukukato. It looks like I'll be your mom going forward. Mom. Aries echoed with a blink. What's a mom? I'll be helping to take care of you from now on, okay? Me and Shota. Shota. That would be me, Aizawa said. He stood, setting Aries on his seat before getting on his knees beside his lover. How much do you remember? Why your friends got me out, Aries whispered, hugging the plushie close. Mr. Frog Guy died helping those girls that got me away, but they said Overhaul is still out there. That's right. Anything else? You all brought me back to somewhere. We talked to the old guy and he wanted me to talk about Overhaul. Then they talked about what to do with me. Then a woman sang a really pretty song and I fell asleep. And now you're here, EMI said. We're going to take care of you. Take care of me. Shota, go get Aries some new clothes. I'll get her cleaned up for bed. I need to get to know my new little girl, right? Aizawa nodded, stripping his assassin robes off to reveal casual clothing underneath. He folded the robe neatly before opening a hidden drawer in the wall even EMI was surprised to see. Casting a glance back at them, he offered a quiet see you later before walking out the door. All right, sweetie, EMI said, turning back to Aries. It's bath time, but I won't force you to do anything. Follow me when you're ready. She stood, moving slowly toward the attached bathroom they had, leaving the door partly open. Aries' eyes widened when she realized that EMI truly didn't plan of making her do anything and that she could continue to just sit there if she so chose. Hesitantly, very slowly and never taking her eyes off the older woman in the bathroom doorway, Aries slid off the recliner and started patting her way in EMI's footsteps. When the bell rang on Monday, Tsuhaya was nowhere to be seen. Izuku chewed his lip, his eyes darting to her empty seat as everyone made their way to their desks. Aizawa stepped into the room, a deep frown on his face and bags under his eyes. Most of the class seemed to take this as a bad sign for the stack of papers in his hands. Good morning, he said, but there was no hint of joy in his voice. It was like he had reverted to his attitude from before their internships. From what he knew of Aizawa, however, Izuku recognized it more as straight tiredness than his previous general irritability. Today is only a half day before you are released for summer break. I have with me your final scores. If you failed your physical final, then I need you to stay behind so we can work out your remedial classes. Luckily, none of you failed your written final, so none of you are getting booted today. Aizawa-sensei. Achako asked, her hand raised. Should we wait for Tsu? She's never missed class before, so I'm sure she's just. Asu will not be in class today, Aizawa said, cutting her off. We got notice over the weekend that she had a family emergency, the nature of which is not my place to explain. You may ask her when next you see her. Who cares about frog bitch? Bakugo demanded. Let's hurry this shit up already. Izuku glared at the back of Bakugo's head but dared not start an argument in the middle of class for his words. Tsuhaya wasn't here to defend herself, but that meant she also wasn't here to suffer his insults and defending her would do nothing but waste time. His hands clenched, the desk creaking under the strain. Anyway, Aizawa continued, passing out the first of the grades in his hands. UA's campus will be open to all of you throughout the summer should you wish to use our facilities for your training. You will, however, have to go through a process of logging your arrival time and location for our records. Various teachers may be present depending on when you come and will have office hours available upon request. Ah, man. Kirishima sighed, Mina making a similar noise a moment later. Aoyama muttered something dreary in French upon receiving his own grade. Sero rubbed his face with a sigh and Toru shook her paper in frustration, but it was Bakugo's reaction that was the most outlandish. 70 the blonde demanded, and explosion turning the paper to ash. Who's the fucker? That would be all of the faculty, Aizawa answered easily, handing Izuku his own grade. The verdict let out a relaxed sigh as he took in the 87 on his own sheet. If you had waited to read the words written, Bakugo, you would see why we docked you so many points. Primarily, you refused to work alongside your partner despite her attempts to meet you at your own speed. Had you left her behind as you had planned, there is a chance Sero and Toru could have overtaken you with the element of surprise. While you passed this time, you need to learn that overwhelming force will not carry you to victory forever. That's bullshit and you know it. Bakugo dismissed as Pony received her passing score. All Might and Endeavor are the top 2 heroes in the world and they have overwhelming power. Besides, All Might never works with partners or sidekicks, and he's number 1. Why the hell should I work with anyone when All Might doesn't? Because All Might knows how to, their teacher answered easily, handing Momo the second to last page. Just because All Might tends to work alone does not mean he dislikes others nor threatens them. People don't like All Might because of his strength, but because of the hope he inspires. As you are now, you inspire only fear, Bakugo growled, but Aizawa ignored him, making his way back to the front of the room. You have the power to be a strong hero, but your mentality leaves a lot to be desired. Strength is everything. Believe what you will but consider what your actions will do if you stay on this path. Were you a 3rd year, I would expel you in an instant. Lucky for you, Bakugo, you have time to change. Bakugo did not respond, simply grunting and turning his eyes toward the window. Well then, you all have until lunch to do whatever you want. You can ask me or any of the teachers for advice or go train in the grounds. You can even sleep the rest of the morning away. I don't care. He stepped behind his desk, pulling out the yellow sleeping bag the class had not seen in several weeks. If you want to talk to me, wait at least 30 minutes. In moments, Aizawa was snoring. Man, I can't believe I failed the final. Toru exclaimed, her rolled up paper swinging through the air. Sorry, Achako apologized. If I'd let you get a couple hits in, then you would have failed for going easy. Toru cut her off with a shake of her invisible head. It's not your fault, Ocha. I just need to get sneakier. That's what my paper says. Anyway, Screw this, Bakugo growled, standing and stomping toward the door. I'm going to go train. Though I disagree with the language, I intend to perform the same actions in a separate location, Tokoyami commented, a host of others voicing agreement and following the bird-headed boy out the door. Izuku, a voice asked, the assassin initiate turning to see Momo staring at him, Pony's desk between them empty. Izuku swallowed, his eyes searching for some assistance only to find none. Aizawa was asleep, apparently having deemed everything here not of notable threat and very tired after whatever transpired over the weekend, and Tsuaya was absent, leaving the verdict on his own. Yes, Momo, Dottie asked, feigning confidence. Perhaps if he played the part long enough, it would feel real, but that was something he knew he would have to learn soon enough. Probably when he was a rank higher than a mere initiate. Can I help you with something? I was curious to know if you had any plans for your summer break before the training camp. Well, no, Izuku admitted. He couldn't very well say the Brotherhood wanted him on standby for training or simple missions, or that they were hoping to promote him to apprentice by the time the camp started. Nothing specific. I was hoping to spend time with my mom since I've been so busy lately. Why? Well, Momo turned away, her fingers fiddling under the cover of her desk. There was a pinkness to her cheeks that Izuku attributed to the way the light came through the window. There was an unmentioned prize for winning the sports festival. I received a ticket to the I-Island Expo happening several days from now. The I-Expo. Izuku echoed, perking up. That's the largest showcase of cutting-edge technology in the world. As a floating island with a populace made of people from around the world, I-Island operates as its own sovereign entity beholden only to laws concurrent between all nations and maritime law. It's so exciting that you get to go. Well, my ticket isn't just for me, Momo explained. I can bring 1 or 2 people along with me, you know, in case I don't want to explore the island alone. That's good. Who are you planning to ask? Momo was silent, turning her eyes on the boy. He blinked. She raised an eyebrow. Wait, me? Dottie questioned, pointing at himself. Why would you want to invite me? I mean, you are my vice representative, the girl began. I believe you would also be the most excited to get a chance to visit the expo. I'm not so close to anyone in the support course or 1B. Didn't you intern alongside Kendo? Why not ask her? I don't want to ask Kendo. She swallowed, turning away from him slowly. Do you not want to go with me? That's not, I mean, well. Izuku floundered for words, his personal desires starting to get the better of him. He'd always wanted to visit Island. One of his favorite dreams as a kid had been one in which he arrived on the floating island and was given a device that would either give him a quirk or mimic one so thoroughly as to allow him to compete on the same level as Bakugo. Then he'd get adopted by All Might, become his apprentice, and go on to be the greatest hero in the world. Those dreams had long passed after his introduction to the Brotherhood, but his wish to see Island still lingered. I promised my mother that I'd spend my break with her until the training camp. I haven't been at home very often and need to show her what I've learned. Is that all? Momo asked. I'm asking you along, so I can stand to host your mother as well. But it's so sudden. I don't have. You can wear your hero costume for the first day, she said, interrupting him. And you still have the suit I gifted you. Yes? There will be a formal party the first night. Oh, this will be exquisite. Excuse me while I make the preparations. I will pick you both up on Thursday at 9 in the morning. The Templar heiress stood, already pulling out her phone. Izuku's stuttered pleas fell on deaf ears as she made her way out of the room. The teen slowly let his face fall in his hands. Man, you're so lucky. Kirishima laughed, misinterpreting his actions as those of embarrassment rather than worry. I almost wish Yaomamo was asking me to go with her to Island. You heard all that. Izuku gasped. Almost. Mina grinned. Midori's date aside, what's with that almost? Kiri? I'm definitely jelly of Midori. D-date. Izuku choked. That's not. I mean, I want to go. Don't get me wrong, the redhead said, throwing a wink at his longtime friend. It's just not Yaomamo I'd rather go with. Kiri. Mina laughed, smacking him in the arm. We don't have time to go. Anyway, he shrugged. We've got those remedial classes we have to do. Crap, I'd forgotten about that. Wait till everyone hears about this. Toru squeaked, already pulling out her phone. Izuku groaned, dropping his head into his hands again. Aizawa-sensei's going to kill me. Let me get this straight, Aizawa said, blinking tiredly, despite his nap, at his disciple across his desk. It was lunchtime, though nearly every student had already left, eager to start their summer vacations, so the door was closed to the outside. Yaoi Orozu invited you to join her on the trip to the Expo she earned through her victory and steamrolled every attempt you made at denying her. Why yes, Izuku sighed, running a hand through his hair. His other flicked his wrist twice. I even said I was planning to spend the break with my mother, but she said I could just bring her along and left to make reservations. If I call her to say no even after saying I didn't have specific plans, that would just look incredibly suspicious. What do I do? Stay calm. Initiate, the older assassin ordered. I was very busy this weekend and did not get enough sleep, but that's no excuse. I should have stayed awake, but I do not know how much interference I could have provided for you even if I had. As it is, however, you are in for a stressful couple of days. Stressful. Izuku echoed. Why? Island is a Templar stronghold in all but official capacity. They funded its creation and many of the scientists there are under the Templars' employ, whether they know it or not. We're lucky to have a few spies in residence, but their security system is top of the line. You should be safe. However, especially with your mother there, the Templars won't try anything around civilians and your identity as one of us remains a secret. So, enjoy your trip, as much as you can. Aizawa sighed, raising his hands in a what can you do sort of motion. We can inform Mentor and your teachers of your absence. And we'll need to get that nervous tick of yours under control. He paused. Midoriya, I must say, you have the amazing ability to get yourself into situations no one of your level should. It is very disconcerting. I'm not exactly excited about it either, Izuku replied. Why me, though? Worst case scenario, the Templars want to recruit you. Izuku jerked at the suggestion. Why would an organization of world domination like the Templars possibly want him? To them, he was just another UA student, and one with a weak so-called quirk all things considered. That's probably not it, though. Not if Yaoi Orozu is willing to bring your mother along. Unless they plan to use her as a hostage to force your cooperation. Not that they would have any reason to. You've not done anything considerable to attract their attention to my knowledge. Nothing I can think of. Izuku agreed. Have you considered the possibility that Yaoi Orozu is romantically attracted to you? Izuku choked, having to lean on the desk as he tried to clear his windpipe. Aizawa felt a small smile come to his face at the sight, a slight lessening of his anger at Nizu for pulling the same stunt of him before coming through. Aizawa continued after he'd had his fun. Yaoi Orozu simply hopes to pick your brain for your detailed analysis the same way she did the last time you accepted one of her invitations. That must be it, Izuku insisted. Midoriya, the teacher said before Izuku could leave. Before you go home, stop by the den. There is someone there who needs your help and a few introductions to be made. I will meet you there later. Yes, master. Izuku rolled through the portal as easily as second nature, landing on his feet without so much as a wasted movement, and hurried to put on his robes. He strode through the halls, unsure where he was going but keeping his eyes open for any of those who had helped train him. It was in the cafeteria that he found Akaguro and his protege, the pair recognizing him and the younger waving him over. Her right arm was wrapped in a sling while Akaguro had his head bandaged. Hello, Master Akaguro. Assassin Toga, what happened to you? You know you can just call me Himi, the blonde said. As for this, occupational hazard, things happen on missions, you know. Personally, I'm lucky I only got this and Master Akaguro a concussion, as opposed to, He wasn't made aware, Akaguro said, drumming his fingers on the table. They're in the lounge. Kid, I don't know if they're expecting you, but at least one of them will be happy to see you. Who's not expecting me? Izuku asked. What happened? Frog Girl didn't go to school today, right? Himi prompted. She's with her family. Something happened to them. The student gasped, not giving either assassin the time to explain before he was off. Izuku raced through the hallways, even taking to the beams up top to increase his speed without the risk of bowling anyone over. He rolled to a stop before the lounge door, wrenching it open. Izuku. There were 5 people in the room alongside a projector. Izuku instantly recognized Tsuayu and connected 3 of the 4 others as her mother and younger siblings. Baruasu was shorter than Tsuayu, with almost turtleish features and long, dark hair that framed her wide mouth. The younger children, Samudra and Satsuki, were frog-like in their appearance like Tsuayu, unsurprising since they also shared her frog quirk. Each of the 3 looked up as he entered, tears in their eyes. The only other person in the room was Psycho Intelli, her hood down to show her periwinkle hair. The projector cycled through pictures of the family, each with the smiling or fondly irritated face of the family's patriarch. It only took Izuku a second to take in the details, remember Himiko's words, and draw his own conclusion as to what happened and what warranted Tsuayu's absence that morning. He scrounged for words. I didn't know. I'm so sorry. Is there anything I can do? Tsuayu choked on a sniffled ribbit, beckoning her fellow initiate in. He closed the door and moved forward. Once he got within a step of his classmate, Tsuayu threw herself at him, wrapping her arms around his neck and sobbing into his shoulder. There was nothing Izuku could do but to hug her back, letting her tears soak into the cloth of his robes as he supported most of her weight. I'm so sorry for your loss, the boy whispered to the woman and her youngest, the children clinging tightly to their mother. You must be Midoriya, Baru said through her own tight throat. I am. Thank you for watching out for Artsu, and thank you for your words. From what we heard, it was at least painless. Ganma knew the risks, same as the rest of us. At least he made a difference and saved an innocent life in his final moments. He was a true hero. That's all any of us can really ask for. I guess, but that doesn't make it any less painful, does it? Only a little. Baru smiled, but only slightly, her fingers tightening against the tops of her younger kids' heads. He believed in our mission and gave his life for it. That's all there really is to it. She chuckled. Wait until you meet the little girl he saved. Then you'll understand. Izuku directed Tsuayu to one of the couches, the girl never releasing him from her grip. He sat beside Psycho, the other girl rubbing Tsuayu's back. He tried to swallow but found his own throat tightening up, tears rolling down his own face as he felt Tsuayu's pain as if it were his own. He'd probably be in a worse way if it was his mother, and that alone was more than enough empathy for him to have an idea. He stayed with the family for a while, Beru occasionally telling them a story about some shenanigans she and Ganma had gotten into when they were younger. Whether that was trying to prank the mentor and getting punished for being caught, or about that time they ran across a Templar base while out just trying to have a picnic date. Her eyes would watch the pictures as she spoke, her words wistful as she remembered the man who had been her husband. They were joined by now initiate Ono Yufim at some point, the tall redhead getting down on his knees to offer hugs to the kids. He didn't know them and only really knew Tsuyu from their mission together, but they accepted his invitation as he tried to do his part in easing the family's burden. Other assassins stopped by to offer their own condolences, each familiar with Ganma and Beru and their contributions to the Brotherhood. Beru said after a while. I think it's time you introduce Midoriya to the girl. They should be in by now. Okay, the eldest Asu sibling croaked, finally letting go. She tried to wipe away her tears and partially succeeded. Each rib-eyed hiccup threatened to restart her crying. She put on a brave face, but Izuku has seen such a face in the mirror too many times to not see the cracks in her facade. Do you want to come with us, Tsuki? Ribbit. Yeah, the youngest Asu answered, running over to her sister. Tsuyu swept her into her arms and gestured Izuku to follow. Saiko cast a glance at Beru, the older woman nodding for her to go with them. Yufim took the chance to try to cheer up Samudra with a story from his hero classes at Ketsubatsu. Tsuyu carried Satsuki and led her fellow initiates down the hall to another room. This one was more like a bedroom than a lounge. Spartan in utility, it contained only a bed and a reading desk. Books like Sun Tzu's The Art of War and other such literature contained in an upper shelf. There were 5 people in the room, the already cramped space getting smaller as the 4 arrived. On the right side of the room, leaning against the desk, were Nekoi and Keeper with their hoods up. Sitting in the room's lone chair was Aizawa, his hood down. Finally, on the bed, was a woman Izuku vaguely recognized with a white-haired child on her lap. Tsuyu had to swallow a gasp at the toad plushie the girl held tight to her chest. Asu, Aizawa greeted. Midoriya, Intelli, I didn't expect to see you here. I joined on a whim, the CA student replied. Mrs. Asu's words made me curious about the little one. Very well. Aizawa sighed. He gestured to the pair sitting on the bed. This is my romantic partner Emi Fukukato, but you probably know her as the pro-hero Ms. Joke. Roman. Izuku muttered. Then Principal Nizu. Aizawa shut him up with a glare. It's nice to meet you, Emi said, offering a small bow from her sitting position. I understand that you're Shota's students. I'm still new to all this secret brotherhood stuff, so forgive me if I miss some of the terminology. And the little one is Eri, Aizawa continued. Assassin Asu gave his life to rescue her from the Templars that were abusing her. Asu and her family met Eri yesterday. Eri, these are Midoriya and Intelli. Both were my students when they were training to get into their high schools. For you, Emi, the other 2 are the eldest and youngest Asu siblings. Tsuyu set Satsuki on the bed, Eri looking up at the other girl. Tears came to the horned girl's eyes, her lip trembling. I'm sorry, she whispered, almost as if she were ashamed. I'm sorry why your daddy died saving me. I wasn't worth it. It's not like that, Satsuki answered with a shake of her head, her voice raw. If Dad had got out and you didn't, Kiro, he never would have forgiven himself. But, Dad, he knew the risks. Kiro, that's what Mom says. It's not your fault. But Satsuki didn't let her finish, wrapping the other girl in a hug of her own. Eri tensed in the younger frog girl's arms, tears rolling down her cheeks, before she gave in and hugged her back. Eyes, Midoriya, Tsuyu said. Intelli. Like Master Aizawa said, this is Eri, Ribbit. She's going to start training with my siblings. Give her a hand if you see her around. I don't know if we would have been able to get her out if it wasn't for Asu, Nekoi commented. Another Templar decided to visit on the day of our raid, and his interference led to complications. Asu was the first one in when Eri's location was made available, and only his quick thinking kept their head from getting her and getting away. We couldn't have done it without him. She closed her eyes. I know it hurts, but you should be proud of your dad. I am, the older Asu replied. She got down to eye level with Eri, resting a hand on both her head and Satsuki's. Eri, I'm Tsuyu Asu, Ribbit, but I go by Tsu. I'm Satsuki's older sister. I'm sore. You don't have to be sorry. I'm going to help you get strong so you can defend yourself. Ribbit. Just like I am for Satsuki and our brother. Our dad saved you, so I guess you can think of us like your siblings. Okay? That would make Satsuki and me your sisters. Ribbit. So you can call me Big Sis. Is that really okay? Only if you want it to be. Okay. Eri sniffed. Tsuyu offered her hand, Eri taking it gently. Emi beamed as she watched the scene. Okay, Big Sis Tsu. Tsuyu bit back another quiet sob. You weren't kidding when you said you were busy this weekend, Master Aizawa, Izuku commented. Personally, I think introducing Eri to so many people so soon is unnecessary, but Medic Faye and Mentor think it will jumpstart her mental recovery. Plus, you all interact with me the most, so I suppose getting introductions out of the way now is more efficient rather than doing them when you see her with me later. So, Ms. Fukukato, Saiko began. Are you joining the Brotherhood then? No, the woman answered. Sho doesn't want me to and I don't exactly have the mindset to do what you all do. I'm still a hero, after all. The only reason I learned about all this was to help take care of Eri here. I see. Saiko nodded. I won't lie. I feel uncomfortable with you knowing my identity, even just my surname. If you want, I'm willing to forget meeting you, Ms. Intelli. I know that Mr. Keeper here is capable of making that happen. That won't be necessary, the student waved off. Your offer is enough to tell me you truly intend to keep our secrets. You passed. Then are you also a hero student? I only ask because I'm a teacher at Ketsubatsu and we might run into each other out there if you are. I am not a student at Ketsubatsu, at any rate, Saiko replied. We do have recruits and assassins within the school system, but I and everyone else here ask that you refrain from attempting to identify them. Any inquiries may draw attention from Templars in the area. If you need to know, they'll come to you. Oh, well that's calming. EMI may not be joining the Brotherhood, but we're going to ensure she can keep our secrets, Aizawa said. Plus, she'll be around for at least part of Eri's training. With Summer here, we've got to get Eri caught up to at least Satsuki's level of skill and test the limits and workings of her quirk so we can be prepared for anything. So much to do. Keeper began. So little time. Nekoi finished. Yeah, Eri sniffed. She closed her eyes and brought her fists close. Yeah, but I'm gonna get stronger. I'm gonna get strong like all of you. Overhaul's still out there like a bird fucking bitch and I'm gonna beat the shit out of him when I'm strong. Izuku choked. Where did you hear those words? EMI demanded. Himi, I bet. Nekoi sighed, rubbing her face. I think I remember her saying something like that during the mission. And she helped take care of Eri before they made the final decision to let Aizawa take her home. The nice blonde lady had a lot to say, Eri muttered. She taught me a lot of new words and said Dad would appreciate them. You can't say she doesn't have a sense of humor, at least. Keeper tried. I will talk with her tonight for her so-called humor, Aizawa muttered. Initiate Asu, why don't you take EMI, Eri, and Satsuki to one of the training rooms and get them started on some exercises? Getting the body moving should help us all move forward, I think. Intelli, you're welcome to join. Maybe go have Baru and Samiter come and join us. Keeper, Nekoi, if you see Himi at any point, please tell her I want to have a word with her. And Midoriya, I think you have some packing to do. Packing. Tsuyu croaked. Oh yes, Aizawa replied. He's getting quite a lot of experience in sudden short-term infiltration. Damn it. Kai Chisaki swore, throwing up another mouthful of bile from the stench. He'd separated himself from the mass that had before been Death Arms and Nimato, practically flushing it down the sewers, but the smell of the rotting meat filled the old warehouse alongside the mold and old rats. The place had once been a safe house, but the old caretaker had apparently been assassinated with no one knowing years ago, so there was a thick layer of dust over everything. Those goddamn assassins. If I could have gotten my hands on more of them. Boss, I've returned, Irenica announced, walking over to him with a new change of clothes. Chisaki reached for the white gloves atop the stack first, pulling them on quickly before moving on to the rest of the clothing. The once treasurer of the Shihasake looked away politely. So what now? Now we go to ground, Chisaki answered, overhauling his clothes until they were exactly the way he wanted them. We go to our benefactors and we tell them what happened. Our research can't continue here while the assassins have Eri. His hand rose, squeezing his Templar necklace in his fingers. We'll contact Madame Kanako to have Master Aaron secure us passage to the UK. It's about time we meet up with our brothers in Humories. I'm sure they have some interesting research we can help with now that our part is out of reach. I don't know any English, boss. Then you'll have to learn. Mimic, Chisaki said. We probably have time before a new plan comes to fruition. I swear this. However, Eri and those bastard assassins that took her, they'll pay. They'll all pay. He snarled, his face twisting in rage. They'll die by my hand in the most painful ways if I have anything to say about it. After all, death comes for all who defy the vision of the father and mother.